Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by ancient trees and red earth paths, there lived a young girl named Amora. She had once been the joy of her mother's heart, a gentle woman whose laughter sounded like soft rain on dry land. But death is a visitor that never knocks. When Amora was still small, her mother fell ill and joined the ancestors, leaving behind a broken home and a grieving husband named Pais, a woodcarver whose hands were strong but whose heart was now heavy with sorrow. Not long after the burial, Pais remarried. From the very day Amora's stepmother, Madame Nkiru, entered the house, warmth left with the smoke from the hearth. Madame Nkiru came with her own daughter, Ngozi, who was almost Amora's age. Though they slept under the same roof, the two girls lived very different lives. Ngozi wore clean wrappers and shiny beads. Her hair was always neatly braided, and her laughter filled the compound. Amora, on the other hand, wore torn clothes, slept on a thin mat near the kitchen, and woke before the rooster crowed. Her stepmother beat her for small mistakes. If water spilled, she was beaten. If food burned, she was beaten. If Ngozi cried, Amora was beaten. Pais, once strong, grew sickly and weak. His cough echoed through the nights, and with every cough, his voice faded. Madame Nkiru cared little. She claimed Amora was the cause of all their misfortune. A cruel Christmas morning. Then came Christmas Day, a day when joy should walk freely among homes. On that morning, the village was alive. Drums sounded in the distance, children ran about in new clothes, and smoke from cooking pots rose joyfully into the sky. Madame Nkiru had bought Ngozi a beautiful dress, decorated with beads that shimmered like morning dew. She tied colorful beads around her neck and wrists and praised her loudly. But for Amora, Madame Nkiru took the simple Christmas cloth Amora had sewn secretly from scraps and threw it into the fire. Christmas is not for useless children, she spat. Then she gave Amora a cutlass and an old basket. Go into the deep forest and bring back firewood, she ordered. Not the roadside forest. The deep one. Everyone knew the truth. That forest was forbidden on Christmas Day. It was said that spirits walked freely there on such a holy morning, testing the hearts of humans. But Amora said nothing. Tears filled her eyes, but she swallowed them like bitter medicine. Before leaving, she looked at her father, lying weak on his mat, breathing heavily. If only I could help him, she whispered. The song of a sad heart. As Amora walked into the forest, her feet bare against the cold earth, she began to sing softly. Her voice trembled, filled with sadness and hope all at once. Mother who sleeps beneath the soil, watch your child walk through sorrow. Let kindness be my shield today. For my heart is all I carry. The trees seemed to listen. The wind slowed. Deep inside the forest, where light barely touched the ground, Amora saw an old grey woman struggling under a heavy load of firewood. Her back was bent, her feet trembling, and her breath came in short gasps. Many would have passed by. But Amora stopped. She dropped her basket and ran to the woman. Grandmother, she said gently, let me help you. The old woman looked up, surprised. Her eyes were cloudy, but deep and knowing. Child, she said, no one helps on this day. Why do you? Amora lifted the firewood onto her own head and replied. Because my mother taught me that kindness is never wasted. The old woman smiled, a smile that seemed to stretch beyond her wrinkled face. The gift of the forest. The old woman led Amora to a lonely hut hidden between ancient trees. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and earth. She gave Amora a small, dusty bag. Take this, the woman said. Do not open it in the forest. Open it only when you return home. Inside is gold and a healing liquid. Use the gold wisely. Use the liquid to heal the one whose heart still beats for you. Amora bowed deeply. Thank you, grandmother. As Amora walked back, the forest tested her. She heard voices calling her name. She saw glittering objects on the ground. A strange bird offered to guide her faster. But she remembered the woman's words. She did not stop. She did not open the bag. She did not look back. Return and reward. When Amora returned home, Madame Kiru was shocked. "You're alive," she muttered. That night, Amora opened the bag. Gold spilled onto the mat, glowing softly. There was also a small bottle of clear liquid. She gave the liquid to her father. By morning, poor Isa's cough stopped. Within days, he stood again. Amora's life changed like the turning of seasons. The gold she received was not wasted on noise or pride. She remembered the words of the old grey woman, "Use it wisely." With careful hands and a thoughtful heart, Amora began to build a new life, not just for herself, but for others. She moved from the shadow of her stepmother's house and opened a small boutique at the edge of the village market. At first, it sold only simple fabrics and beads, but people were drawn not only to her goods, but to her gentle spirit. She measured cloth honestly, greeted customers with respect, and sometimes gave freely to those who had nothing. Soon, her boutique grew. Seeing the number of children wandering the village without learning, Amora opened a part-time school behind her shop. It was small, just a few benches, a chalkboard, and a roof of rusted zinc, but it became a place of light. Children who once knew only the farm and the road now learned letters, numbers, and songs. Prosperity followed her kindness like a loyal shadow. Before long, Amora built her own bungalow, strong walls, wide windows, and a peaceful compound filled with flowers. She brought her father, Pa Is, to live with her, caring for him with love until strength returned fully to his body. He often sat under the mango tree, watching his daughter and whispering prayers of gratitude to the heavens. The villagers now called Amora Daughter of Blessing. Jealousy grows like poison. But while Amora's star rose, Madame Kiru's heart darkened. Every laughter from Amora's compound felt like an insult. Every praise from the villagers burned her ears. Ngozi, her daughter, watched Amora's success with envy instead of reflection. Why should she be rich? Madame Kiru hissed one night. She was nothing in my house. When Madame Kiru learned of the forest and the old grey woman, her heart twisted with greed. If kindness brought wealth, she said, then pride will bring even more. She dressed Ngozi in her finest clothes, tied expensive beads around her neck, and sent her, falsely and proudly, to the same forbidden forest. Go and take what belongs to us, she commanded. They encounter in the forest. Deep in the forest, just as before, Ngozi saw the old grey woman, bent beneath a heavy load of firewood. But instead of stopping, Ngozi laughed. Old woman, she said arrogantly, what are you doing alone in the forest? Don't you know it is dangerous? The old woman said nothing. Ngozi stood with her arms crossed, waiting. It was the old woman who finally spoke. Child, she asked quietly, will you help me? Ngozi rolled her eyes. Reluctantly, she lifted the firewood, complaining loudly about the weight and the dirt. There was no kindness in her hands, only impatience. Still, the old woman led her to the lonely hut and gave her a small bag, just like Amora's. Do not open it in the forest, the woman warned. Ngozi grabbed the bag without bowing, without thanks, and ran. The forest tests the heart. The forest tested her immediately. Voices whispered promises of greater riches. Shadows danced, laughing at her greed. The bag felt heavy with desire. Unable to control herself, Ngozi tore it open. A terrible sound echoed. The forest swallowed her scream. She never returned. The fall of the stepmother. Days passed. Then weeks. When the villagers confirmed that Ngozi was gone, Madame Kiru wailed like a wounded animal. She tore her clothes, poured ashes on her head, and finally, with broken pride, came to Amora's house. She knelt. "Forgive me," she cried. "I was blind with jealousy." Amora's heart softened. She lifted the woman and forgave her, not because she deserved it, but because forgiveness freed Amora's soul. But forgiveness could not heal guilt. Madame Carew returned to her empty house, haunted by whispers, shunned by villagers, crushed by shame. Within weeks, her spirit broke. She died quietly, from guilt, from shame, and from the weight of her own cruelty. The lesson of the ancestors. The elders later said, "Greed walks fast but falls early. Kindness walks slowly but arrives safely. The forest sees the heart, not the hands." And Amora lived on, not just rich in gold, but rich in legacy.